Hello, and welcome to the Stoneridge Software Connect session, Power BI 101, Create Interactive Data Visualizations and Reports. I'll be your presenter today. My name is Kristofer Schlieper. I am the BI and Analytics lead on the Data Insights team here at Stoneridge Software. Taking a quick look at our agenda here, first we're going to cover what is Power BI, talk about some of the Power BI components, look at things you need to do for creating your first report, and then what will help you do some interactive data visualizations. And I'll just jump into a demonstration to show you the different things that we're going to talk about here. So, what is Power BI? Well, Power BI is a suite of business analytics tools that Microsoft has to analyze data and to share insights. Okay. So it is but continue on, it's an interactive visualization that will allow you to do self-service BI capabilities. That means it's going to allow your users to create reports and dashboards by themselves. So it's an interactive data and analytic reporting system where we can go in and create one page with a single report, multiple reports on one page. And we can string multiple pages together to create ourselves a dashboard of like-minded reporting that we can then publish out for our users and clients, customers to be able to consume from. Okay, to do that, we can connect to a variety of different data sources. Okay, that allows us to do data prep and driving of the ad hoc analysis experience from within Power BI itself. Now, when it comes to accessing Power BI, we have multiple different ways to get at it. There is the Power BI desktop, which is the version I will be working with and showing you today. There's an online SaaS version of it, and then there is the mobile experience. The Power BI itself offers a robust data exploration, transformation, and visualization capabilities that will allow you to enhance your organization's ability to provide clear business intelligence, data, and insights throughout the organization itself. So that's what Power BI is. What about the components? Well, if you're looking at the screen, in the upper left-hand corner, we have what's called the ribbon. This should be fairly similar to anybody who's used any other Microsoft products, whether it's Excel or Word or Outlook or anything else. There is a ribbon at the top that really guides the groupings of command functionalities. Okay, for instance, we have the Home, Insert, or Modeling tabs, ribbons that show up at the top. Obviously, the home is where you'll spend most of your time, but there's also an insert one where we can insert different items, and we'll take a closer look at that when we get into the demonstration. And the modeling one where we can connect to and do a number of our different data modeling things that we would do to make our data ready to be able to be presented and viewed. On the left-hand side, where the number 2 is at, these are our views. We have the report view, the data view, and the model view, and just recently released is the DAX view. This allows us to switch with the working area. So the working area is number 4. These different views allow us to switch what we're looking at in the working area. Okay, so that we can quickly move between and do different things. If we want to take a look at what our data looks like, we can select the data view. And that'll show us our tables, and then depending on the table we select, it'll show us the different columns and information that's in those tables. We can switch over to our model view, which is where we can take a look at if we have multiple different tables that we brought into our report. We can take a look at those tables and how we can join those relationships between the different tables, so we can create that more robust experience of being able to create different slicers and filters and everything on there. Now, the report view is the main view that you start with when you come in there, which is where you can see it's what we have on the screen right now, where it's we can enter the different reports and different other artifacts that we want to be on our report screen. As well as I mentioned, there is the newer DAX view, which makes a easier and cleaner space for us to be able to go in and create any of our DAX measures. Now, DAX stands for Data Analytics Expressions, and that allows us to again be more robust in our application and to create some do some different concepts, like we can create measures that do a sum or an average or anything like that. And I'll show you the one that I have created when we get to the demonstration. Number 3 on the right hand side, that's where we have our panes. So we have our field pane, our filter pane, our build pane, and there are other panes that we can look at on there, but those are the 3 main ones that you'll work with most of the time. They allow us to do different things. For instance, on the field pane, that's where we see our data, our tables, and our values that are our fields that are part of our tables. This allows us to add data and fields to our different reports for us to be able to customize what our reports look like. Then there is the filter pane, which allows us to be able to add items and filter either by the report, by the page, or filter by the whole report. Itself. Then there is the build pane, which allows us to create new visuals, and then within that, after that, we'll be able to take and modify those visuals by doing different things, changing colors, changing fonts, changing size, all those different things. We do that from that pane on the right hand side. Number 4, like I said, is what we call the working area. This is where you can, this is where we can see what is dependent on number 2, our views. Okay. Again, if we select the data, we're going to see our data. If we select the DAX measures, we're going to see our different calculations. If we select the report view, we're going to see whatever page we select and the visuals that we've already and other artifacts that we've set up on that. And last but not least, at the bottom, number 5, those are our pages. This is where we can manage the different pages in our report, and each page itself can contain multiple visualizations. Think of our pages view at the bottom sort of like our tabs in Excel. We can create as many tabs as we want, and we can either hide or unhide the different tabs we want, depending on how we want them to be represented in our final product, okay, which is our report or dashboard that we will publish out to our workspace. So what do we need to do to create our first report? Well, we need to understand our data, and to do that, we need to understand where we're extracting our data from. So Power BI uses Power Query to connect to and bring in our data from a multitude of different data sources. Okay, there should be, I believe it's over 100 or 130 different data sources that we can pull in data from. Okay, and it can be on-prem, like traditional data sources like SQL or Oracle. We can do cloud-based platforms like Azure and Salesforce. And even web-based data files and more. Okay, this allows us to be able to combine multiple different sets of data for us to create that more robust reporting experience. The next thing we need to be able to do to create our first report is we need to be able to include a number of different visuals. There are a number of preset visuals that come with Power BI to begin with. So we have pie charts, we have line charts, we have bar charts, we have combo charts, map charts. We can do histograms, we can do area charts, we can do gauge charts if we have a KPI. We can do a metric or a table. We can do what's called a single a single number or a card. Okay, and then there are if you can see in the upper right hand corner, there's 3 little ellipses, and with those ellipses, what it does is it gives us the ability to go out and download more. Microsoft does have a Power BI space where we can connect to and bring down other visuals. Now, I will say there's a lot of companies that do create and build visuals out there that will give you that you can purchase. and they'll give you the install files if you ever bring it down. There is also a software development kit or SDK for Power BI visuals that would allow you to be able to create or customize a visual, the visuals of your choice, where you can either start with the visuals that are there and customize them, or you can bring in or bring down and create it from scratch. Okay. So how do we do? What do we need to do for our to make our data visualizations interactive? Well, one way we can do that is through filtering, and we can filter on our visuals by a field. We can filter on tabs, or we can filter on the complete report. And as you can see, there are different. As you're looking at it, there are different ways to filter on that. Essentially, we bring our data field that we want to filter on over, and there's either an advanced experience, or we can just do some simple filtering. For instance, if you bring over a timetable, we can filter on. We could have it complicated and say, hey, give me dates between here and between this date and this date. Or we could simply say, hey, let me go basically and say, hey, let me choose the individual years that I want to come in. And we can do that with any of the different fields that we bring in from our different tables. Additionally, on our filtering, you can see we have advanced, like I said, advanced filtering, basic filtering, relative date, relative time, and top N. The top N would be like the top 5, top 10, top 15, whatever you decide to set. And after filtering, we have what's called formatting. Within our formatting, we have different things that we can do, and each one of these we have either a page formatting or we have visual formatting. Formatting on the page allows us to do different things like set up drill throughs, which we'll show you. We can change the initial page size. We can change the background. We can change the page alignment, the wallpaper. Number of different things that we can preset that allow us to say, hey, this is how I'm going to control the interactivity of my particular report. Or we can do individual formatting on our visuals, and that allows us to control a number of different things. As you can see, we can control the layout, what's on how the Y and X axis behave, whether we have a zoom slider or not. We can control the data colors, whether we do a monochromatic scale, or whether we do a different color for each data point. Okay, we can add and remove titles and backgrounds. One of the cool things on here is we have what's called a tooltip, where we can add items to the tooltip, and then when we hover over that particular visual, we can see added additional information. It might be information that will be helpful, but we didn't want to necessarily put it on a visual on the page because it's not the most important information, but it's additional information that might help. So again, we're creating that interactive space, and we can turn these tooltips on or off, or we can change them. We can actually create a tooltip visual page, which I'll show you when we get to the demonstration here in just a second. So, a number of different things that we can do for our visuals and for our report that allow us to be able to create that interactivity. So now that's been a very brief overview of what Power BI is and the different things we can do to customize our visuals. What I'm going to do is go ahead and stop my deck. Here is the Power BI dashboard. Okay, this is the downloaded, installed on my system dashboard, not the SaaS version of it. So you can see this is a better view of our ribbon up top. Here's my views on the left, and here is my my window in the middle, my pages on the bottom, and you can see the different panes that I have on the right-hand side here. And you can add or remove the different panes by selecting them on this section, on this little ribbon, this vertical ribbon over here. So the first thing we want to do, we're on the home ribbon. We can do different things like data queries, and we can do a quick insert, deal with some calculations. But before we can really do anything on here, we need to have some data in there. So the quickest way to get data, there are a few like quick connections, like to Dataverse enter our own data, SQL Server, OneLake Hub, Excel. But if you don't see the one on this quick menu up here, you go to Get Data, and then we go down to More. Once you're in More, you can see we have pre-formatted to file, or our list of different databases we can bring in from MariaDB to Dremio to BI Connector, Amazon Athena, Microsoft Fabric specifically. We can bring in from data flows, data marts, warehouses, lakehouses, KQL, from the Power Platform, our Dataverse or our data flows, from Azure specifically, Azure SQL Database, Azure Blob Storage, Azure Databricks, or different online services like Dynamics 365, Business Central, Google Analytics, GitHub. And then other is where we have a number of other ones that we can look at. Or you can, if you know the one you want and you want to look for, say Amazon, I can start typing in Amazon and it'll bring me down to the options: Amazon Open Search Service, which is in beta, Amazon Athena, or Amazon Redshift. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my all, and I'm going to choose an Excel workbook because that's what I have keyed up and created some visuals on. You simply go out and choose your workbook. It's going to bring us up to a navigator where I have my workbook. If I was doing a database, this would be my database name in here. You'd see the different tables that I have available to bring in on the side. I'm going to go ahead and choose the ones I want. Notice when I choose those, it gives me a brief view of those. It gives me a brief view of those on the right hand side here. Now I can do two things. I can transform data and take me into Power Query, and so I can transform and do, if I wanted to group some things, or if I wanted to, merge with other tables, I could do that. Or if I know my data is good and I simply want to load it, I can click on Load. And now it's going to go through its process of loading the data. And now you can see here on my data pane on the right, I have my 3 tables that I selected, and you can see my different columns that are available to me for me to use in my visuals. I've already created a number of visuals, so at this point I'm going to switch over to my preset file, but I wanted to use this one to show you, hey, this is how we can bring in data. So here's the one I already have preset up, and right now we are in the report view. So this pane, you can see that I have my the different artifacts. I have 2 reports, actually 3 reports if you count my card up here. I have a text box with my title, and then I have a gray line here for just for a visual effect to kind of put some space between the title at the top and my overall total sales and my visuals, the reports that I have below it. So I am right now in the report view. If I look over to my table view, you can see as I select my different tables over here on the right hand side, I can see the different information and rows and columns that are in those particular tables, so I can get a good idea and feel for what my data ultimately looks like. And in this instance, then I can look for connections. So between category and data, looks like I have a category code table or a column and a category code column. Looks like they match up. So now when I go to my model, I know I can create those relationships. And Power BI itself will, if it sees something like that, where data category here and data category here, it will automatically create that relationship for you. However, if that relationship hadn't been created, when I come over here to my model view, you could simply use, there's multiple different ways for us to create that relationship, but we could create that relationship between them. If I come up here and click on Manage Relationships, you can see the different relationships I already have. So I have from my data column to my category 1, I'm connected on category code. And if I go from my salesperson, or from my data to my salesperson, I'm on salesperson code. Okay, so we can create new relationships down here and all that, or modify the ones that we do have. And you can look down here, it'll even give you a visual to tell you, okay, from category to data, I have a one to many. The one side is on category, the many side is on data. Same with salesperson. The one is on the salesperson and the many is on the data. Of course, we can have the different types of relationships. We have many to one, one to one, one to many, or many to many. And this many to one goes with the how the tables are listed up here in our edit relationship. So if I were to try and switch this to one to many, it would tell me that my cardinality doesn't work, and I can't do that relationship because essentially it would be trying to switch it from the one being on the data side and the many being on the salesperson side, which my data doesn't support that. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of here. Okay, now that we're back on the main sales report, let's take a look at how we can go ahead and do some customizations here. So I have my main sales page. Notice I have two other pages down here, and one of them is called sales category detail, and that's going to be the one we use to drill through. And then one of them is called tooltip, and that's the one we're going to use for tooltips. And you'll notice if I click on the page itself and I'm looking at page information, I can typically or specifically designate this type of page as either standard, tooltip, or drill through. So I've set this one as a tooltip. So when we look at the tooltips, that's what we should see. And then this one is my sales category detail one. If I click on the page here, you'll see I have this specifically designated as a drill through page. And then when I designate it as a drill through page, I have to pick my value to drill through on, or my field to drill through on. In this case, I've picked my category field. Okay, and over here I have a total sales by salesperson. So I have total sales on the y-axis and salesperson on the x, and I have a sum of sales by region category. Notice that I have region in my legend, and my value is sum of sales. And we actually don't need that detail of the category on there because it's based on the page itself. So what that means is that if I come back over here to my sales, any visual where I have category associated with it, I will be able to go through and get to and do a drill through from that value over to my sales. What does that mean? Well, if I right click on food here, you'll see that I have this drill through option, and it says sales category detail, and that's my page that I've designated as a drill through and has it available there. If I do the same thing over here, notice you don't see my drill through because none of the categories or none of the items or fields that I have designated on this report have I used in a drill through page as a category to drill through on. So if I come over here and I choose beauty and right click on it, I have drill through and it'll take me to my sales category detail. And if I go out to my sales category detail, notice that it's added this filter up here that says category, which is the field that I'm trying to do my interaction on. It's filtered it to beauty. So now you can see here, instead of having all of my bars, and instead of having all of my regions, my salespeople over here, my regions represented on my donut chart here, or my bar chart here, I only have the one person that's associated with my beauty category. Now, we can click back onto sales, but if you'll notice that because this is a drill through, it's given me this little arrow up here. So control click to go back. So if I do a control and click, it brings me back to my sales. So I did beauty before, so let's do beverage. If I right click and do a drill through, sales category detail, now I see Anna, and my region is West. Okay, and click and drill through it. So that's our drill through. That's how we can make some of our visuals interactive, by creating those drill throughs and sending our values based on our drill through. The other thing is a tooltip. What's a tooltip? If I hover over my data points on here, it gives me a tooltip, which is that little black box that pops up that gives me information about the fields that I've added. So it's 2023 quarter 2, and my total sales is 37,500. 2023 quarter 1, 31,500. Since I added a tooltip visual over here, and notice I have Lisa, Mike, Anna, and John on there and their respective areas. Lisa, Lisa is a salesperson, category of beauty, and sum of sales 38.7. If I come back over here to sales, and now I hover over, now instead of getting my tooltip of just static information or just information, I now actually get a visual that I've set up and created, and it's filtering. Now, because each person is specific, because in this data, each person is specific to a category and a region, that's why it's making it a one solid color for Lisa, Lisa for beauty, Mike for medicines. Okay, so that's just one of the small ways that we're able to make our visuals more interactive. I can left click on top of beauty and notice that it now filters this time, this sales by year and quarter, filters it. It's now down to 17.4 for quarter 2. Okay, and if I click on beauty again, now it goes back to my main one. If I come to beverage or food, okay, so there's some default interactivity that's built out of it, and there's some other interactivity that we can create in it by using our drill through pages or by using our tooltips. So what I've gone over now just today is a quick overview of what Power BI actually is, a quick overview of the components that are associated with it, and gone through a quick report on how we created it and how we created some interactivity between the different pages and the different items on the report. If you'd like to learn more about how Power BI can best help your organization, please reach out to Stoneridge and the Data Insights team. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.